Please welcome the incredible Allie Tymo.
Thank you so much. I'm so happy to be here with you and having this conversation.
Yeah, and you only live like almost a stone's throw away. I can't throw that far, but you're close.
Yeah, I can see your mountain across
Oh,
the lake from me.
yes, because I have a mountain. I own it.
Yeah.
The entire mountain.
I look and I'm like, I know Renee's over there.
Are you on the west side?
No, I'm not on the west side. I'm upper Mission
Ah,
in
okay.
Kelowna, so
Oh, I see.
I can see there. Yeah.
You can see. That's cool. So you're in branding and you did you just step back into this as of late? Were you doing something before this?
Yeah, I mean, I feel like my entrepreneurial journey has taken quite a few pivots. Where I initially was trained and started specifically around life coaching. And then
Mhm.
it wasn't until kind of life stuff happened and I was forced into a big pivot that I really identified places that I could help people grow their businesses, and helping them with their brands and behind the scenes in their business was a way to do that. But I kind of did it in secret. I had, a few clients that I was working with. We were on monthly retainers. I was doing all of the branding, all of the brand management behind the scenes. And then it wasn't until really, I guess, this past year where I was like, you know what? I actually need to own the branding piece of
Mhm.
it. So I have been doing this for, I guess, God, like almost 4 years.
Okay.
But to be perfectly honest, was really playing small when it came to owning
Mm.
my genius and what it is I'm really good at.
So you never really went to school for this then?
No, yeah, I think because I started my business in like 2014, I was trained to be a life coach in 2015. It was really just like get in the mud of it all and figure it out for yourself. So there's like a lot of trial and error, a lot of signing up for programs or taking little courses here and there, and then piecing all my knowledge together, and then coming to the place where I realized, oh, I actually really like this and I can do this for other people.
Yeah. Isn't that fascinating? How we think we want to take one direction and we're like, no, I don't want to do that anymore.
Yeah, exactly. But it's such a necessary part of the equation too, to
Yeah.
really just do something, whether it doesn't really matter what it is, and then to get the clarity of, oh, that's not the thing for me. But I'm glad
No,
I know that and have the clarity now.
yes, and I think there's part of it too, like with college, we're asking kids that are like 15 years old to choose a career path. I'm like, they're going through puberty. They don't even know what like right or left is, and you're asking them to pick a career path. So there's no shame in that evolution. There's also no shame in like finding a new career every 4 or 5 years,
Yeah.
right? Like because you learn, you grow yourself, and with that you get new interests. You become hopefully more confident in what it is that you're doing, and you're curious about other things. For me, I've always loved marketing and communications.
Hmm.
When I was 18 years old, I thought I was going to own an agency in Manhattan
Oh,
and
I
live
love
in a house with a white picket fence with 2 kids and a dog. And well, Kelowna is not Manhattan.
that.
We don't have a white picket fence, but my kids keep asking for one because the soccer ball keeps going over the side of the mountain. But the whole point being is I had this dream. I didn't know how it was going to really evolve or what it would look like. And I'm so glad we chose not to live in New York.
Yeah, I was gonna say it's a lot more peaceful here.
Yeah, it's totally. The mountains, the lake. Oh, I love it. So, okay, so tell us a little bit about kind of your business, and what really got you interested in providing branding as services for, is it like mostly women in business or?
Yeah, mostly women in business. I work with a lot of coaches, creatives, healers, because there is an aspect to my work where I do bring in energetics, and I have more of like a spiritual approach. I tend to attract people who identify as spiritual or who really want to take their brand to a new level of depth. They really want their brand to be a reflection of who they are, for it to feel authentic, for it to be kind of their playground for their own expression to shine through.
Mm,
So there is that aspect of coming into alignment with who you are and asking yourself the question of what actually is authentic to me,
mm,
and where are the areas where I might be dimming down or playing small, and how can I turn that up? So how I came to shift into branding and providing that for entrepreneurs now is, like I mentioned, originally I was trained in life coaching. So my ability to space hold and see people, like I have always been so fascinated in psychology, and marketing to me is really about relationships, and it's really about understanding psychology and understanding people and building relationships. And that is like my jam. So when I was coaching, I realized that people would be making great strides and having a lot of personal transformation, but how that was translating and shifting into their business, they would continuously hit a wall, or there was something that would stop them. But when you combine that like inner work of diving into who you are and what you want to do and why you want to do it, and then actually translating that into the tangible of having an amazing brand to back you, then what I've seen is that people just become unstoppable. It's kind of like the saying of if you look good, you feel good. It's like
Mhm.
if your brand looks good, and then you're going to feel good in your brand. You're going
Totally.
to want to show up in your brand.
Yeah, you're proud of it.
Right,
It's like it looks
exactly.
polished and professional.
Yeah. You're like,
I
I
love it.
want to scream this from the rooftops because this is just, it's me.
Okay, so quick question on this note. Regardless of your industry, do you believe that every founder needs to have a personal brand?
I don't think that every founder needs to have a personal brand, because there are brands that don't have that are very successful. You know, you even look at like you would never look at someone like the CEO of Nike or Chanel or any of these brands and be like, they should really have a personal brand though. Like it just doesn't fit. But I think if you have a desire to be visible, to be seen, to share your thoughts as a thought leader, then 100% you need to have a personal brand.
So, do you think it helps?
Oh yeah, definitely. Because it definitely, as humans, we are, I feel like all of us are longing for connection and deeper connection, and we connect through storytelling. So when you can weave in storytelling into your personal brand, um, that's when you create a community with your people who like you trust you, um, and that I just, you can't put a price tag on building a community and an audience like that you're actually connected to.
So, when you're first starting out, I'm thinking because there's a lot to do when you're first starting a business or when you're growing that business, like the first $1 million. And sometimes you don't have the time or the budget resources to actually do this.
Yeah.
Now, but there's also like this point where it's like, but if you created a beautiful brand, it like we go back to the notion of it looking polished, it being more trusted, it being more
Hmm.
memorable. Like, there's so many benefits, right? You can't just
Yeah.
slap on a logo, some colors and fonts, and call it a day. Yeehaw.
Yeah, exactly.
um, but in that phase of like starting, or say like your first $500,000, when maybe there's like a tiny budget you can put at it, what are some of the things that founders can do? So you're talking about like coaches and service providers and healers and creatives. What are the steps and the important first steps in creating that brand, not only for their business, but also for themselves?
Yeah, and I really think before you get to the aesthetics of your brand, there's an entire process that I take people through, and that is really like the bedrock of your brand. The foundation of your brand is to ask yourself the question of what do you want to be known for? So many people can get tripped up in like, well, I'm good at this and I'm good at this and I can make money doing this, and it's like you can make money doing a lot of things. It is easy to make money, but what do you want to be known for? And that's really the starting point. It's like the seed that you kind of plant, and then you go to the next thing and you're
Mhm.
laying everything down. So, what do you want to be known for? And really, like, what does your expression look like to you? I think that there's so many options when it comes to marketing yourself online that don't require capital to do. We have these platforms that are at our disposal that are free, and there's so many ways that we can be creating content and really increasing the visibility of our brand, building brand recognition just by getting really intentional with the kind of content that you want to create, whether it's reels, whether it's a kind of story, a type of story that you're telling, all of these different things. So it's what do you want to be known for and how do you want to express that? And the more you continue to express what it is that you want to express, knowing, okay, I want to be known for this thing. So we'll just pick on branding. And it's like branding is such a big umbrella, but the specific things that I like talking about are like the energetics of a brand, are the deeper foundation of a brand that really speaks for itself. That's the thing to me where it's like you can have a brand that looks nice, but do you have a brand that people can feel the essence of? And that's totally different. That's a different approach. So those are things that I like talking about. So once you identify that, then you can really have that feed into the content you create. The more you do that, the more you're going to create conversations with your people. You're going to attract the right people who want to work with you, have more clients, and then you just kind of continue to ride that wave of momentum and whatever the evolution looks like for you.
Oh, yeah. Attracting the right people. I'd say, like, personally, for me, that is the biggest thing. So, funny is my website is very geared towards women, the feminine. It's pink. It's like I wear a lot of pink. The website's pink. I love pink. My curtains are pink. Maybe my underwear is pink. But the point being is that yes, men come to the site and they're like, they know me, they want to buy my services. And I had a friend the other day on Instagram. We're trying to coordinate a call, and because he wanted to potentially hire me for some PR services, and he goes, "So do you work with the people that have the other chromosomes too?" And I'm like, "Yeah, I don't discriminate." But the point being is, yes, what we do in its essence can work for both genders. I just love working with women. It's a
Yes.
different energy. It's a different flow. It's a different understanding. Like even today, I was on a coaching call, a sales call, a training call, and every single call, somebody popped in to the room. But every person on the other side of the line was a mother. So it was like a kid needing a snack, somebody needing hair gel. Like it was just, and there was cameos. And I'm like, these were important phone calls. And they just laughed it off. They're like, oh yeah. But and not to say that men wouldn't do this. I know my husband's really great at it too, but I feel like there's something about the feminine energy that is more accepting the fact that we wear so many hats and we're
Yeah.
needed for everything because a 10-year-old kid can get their own snack.
Exactly.
Right?
And like we're multifaceted humans and
Yeah.
and you get to bring that into your brand, you know?
Yeah,
It's not
exactly.
about like, okay, this is my business and this is my brand, so I only get to be this. It's like you get to be the full expression of who you are and you get to
Mm.
have your kid come in and it not be a big deal because that's life.
Yeah,
And
I
isn't
have
that the entire point of building a brand we love, to have the
I
life
think
that we ultimately love?
exactly. And that's it. And that's the luxury. I'm just looking at my podcast here. The luxury of us owning our own businesses is we create our own rules and we create our own boundaries.
Yeah.
Um, Last Friday's episode, number 187, called Embracing Visibility, one thing I said is very clearly is to own your weirdness
Mm.
because people think, oh, like there's so many times when I go to press record on a podcast with a guest and their entire demeanor changes.
Yeah.
And I'm like, oh, no, no. The person that was there before we recorded, I want that person. Like you're on my show because I want that uniqueness. I don't want this polished, and I get it. They're trying to create this brand, maybe even this facade around their
Yeah.
professionalism, but I want the real you. Most people, I just got a pitch from a company that I'm working with about who their ideal customer is, and it's Gen Z. That's what 15 to 22. I don't even know. Anyways, their number one thing about brands is their authenticity.
Yeah.
They don't
Yeah.
want the polished, put together, wear your black blazer, do your lips and hair person. They want to just show up as you are. And if you love wearing a black blazer and polished lips or whatever, do it. But the younger generation sees through it. And so we're seeing this with
Yeah.
brands too. Right? Like
Yeah.
remember the day, I mean, I don't even know if you remember where no products had their ingredients on it. They didn't list their ingredients on anything, and now it was like by law, it was required that you have to, because we need to see through. We need to like, I'm drinking this coffee. It says it's organic and it says it's from somewhere, but is it really?
Yeah. That
Right.
level
So,
of
and that's what I love
transparency.
about smaller companies, personal branding, the reality is people want to see the truth. They want to see that authenticity. They want to see what a real normal life looks like. I get more comments from my slip ups and trips and ums and ahs than I do from actually dropping real information.
Right, exactly.
So
Because
they relate
people
to.
really want that genuine connection. And I feel
Yeah,
like, it's that younger generation wants that, but I feel like just people in general and the way that social media has evolved, their like BS meters are more sensitive than ever before.
yeah,
So you can feel when someone is inauthentic. And I think it's a really valuable question to ask, why do I feel like I have to embody a different persona in order to be liked? And
mm,
what am I ultimately scared of? Am I scared of rejection? Will I be abandoned? I won't be accepted. And where am I not accepting myself? Like, these are such important questions to ask, especially if you want to increase your impact as a personal brand.
totally. And we often try to go with the grain. And
Hmm.
when I was going through this process of quickly doing not even a rebrand, but just like, because I'm still going to work with you, but I was trying to do something quickly for We Wild Women because we needed to get this out the door.
Yeah.
And I was avoiding what I really wanted to do. And I wanted it to be me. And me is a brand. Me is a color palette. Me are fonts. Me are certain words. And I was like pushing against it. I was like, oh, but people don't want that. I was like, they want like what's cool now is like this font with the white backgrounds and like the sexy, like seductress. I don't know. Cause that's what I'm seeing everywhere. But I was like resisting. No, I just want it to be me, bold and colorful. And just like when you look at the pictures, you come to the website, you're like, they know exactly who I am because it's there.
Yeah.
That's the feeling because people buy from those they know, like, and trust.
Yeah,
And it's very
exactly.
easy to know me on my website. And when you go through the process working with you, you create that essence for people so that when somebody goes to their website, it's like, oh, that's totally them.
Yeah, and that's really my favorite part about working with clients is that when I'm creating this branding and making art out of their brand, there's no specific signature on it. It's not like you would look at that and be like, oh, Allie created that. It really, every brand is so different from one to the next because it has nothing to do with me and everything to do with that unique person and what's shining through from them.
Mm. So you're
And
kind of like
I
the
love
vessel
that.
of, yeah. So
Yeah. And
you
then I
you
just get
extract
to
that from
tap
them.
into what their energy is. And like I
Mm.
utilize things like human design in my business, and I really get to know the people who I work with on that deeper level, which is just like absolutely incredible because we all have deep like this deep purpose that not even motivates us, it like fuels us. It's like a magnet that just keeps us going and going. And the more that you can extract out what that is and how that wants to be expressed and seen, like that is just so
Mm.
soul giving to me. And I love being able to see that for other people and have that come to life.
That's so, yeah, I can imagine when you present to them the brand too. Like, I remember when my husband's designer was presenting to him the new SAS Academy, like Dan Martell logo. So
Mm.
he's got like the iconic mountains. It's like a trip, like three mountain ranges. To me, originally it looked like brass knuckles. And I'm like, Dan, that's not you. You don't go punch people. But then he kind of does with words.
Yeah,
um,
all the
but
truth bombs.
this was years and years before we were moving out to Kelowna. And now we live in the mountains. So it's very ironic. However, the mountain range, which most people don't know, is actually the top portion of his signature. And so it just looks like mountains. And it's an easy logo to put on t-shirts, to put on stuff on websites, and it stands out. And now we live in the mountains. But because I was part of that meeting where the designer presented the brand and I was really nervous. I'm like, oh gosh, I hope Rich gets it right. Because if he's been working with Dan forever. So I'm like, he
Mhm.
knows Dan. And as soon as he went to the page of the logo, we were all just like, how do you know? Like, we didn't even know, but how do you know that that's exactly what we wanted? But we didn't even tell you that. We didn't even know that's what we wanted. That was
Yeah,
a
that's
moment.
amazing. Yeah, and that's that like creativity that's like intuition and the create, and I think allowing yourself to be in the creative process really allows you to get there for other people.
I remember when I was sketching out the We Wild Women logo at a bar, well, maybe it's a pub in London, England. And I was like, what can this look like? Why? So, like, the W as it stands out by itself is like a W in a circle, but there's three lines at the beginning of the W, which
Yeah.
represents all the W's of We Wild Women. But it also represents eyelashes because eyelashes are feminine.
I love
And
that.
I was like,
I didn't even know that
no
additional
one would
little layer to the
know.
logo. That's amazing.
Yeah, so I just, like, put a W and I was like, slash, slash. That's the 3 W's, and then they look like eyelashes. This is great, and then I sent it off to Rich to finalize the design. He came back with what it is now, which was really cool. But I know branding is, like, so beyond the logo, but the logo is always a great example of the process. But I love the stuff you talk about, like, the story too, and you got me thinking of people on social media on Instagram that show up and just use the fonts and stuff that's available on the app that anybody can use. But their
Mhm.
brand shines through in how they show up, the words they use, how they put all
Yeah.
that stuff together.
Yeah, there's an entire embodiment process that I really see happen when it comes to if you're wanting to create a brand or do a rebrand, it's also asking yourself like who am I transforming into? What is this moment in time signifying for me personally as a leader and as a business owner? And so and it's like okay, if I'm going to become more visible and be more seen, and then I'm going to have to do that shadow work of what are the things that are really stopping me from doing that. Is it like imposter syndrome? Is it whatever it might be? And then to actually work through all of that mindset stuff so that you can show up, and that's such a journey.
Yeah. So I recorded an episode yesterday about procrastination.
Mm.
And I feel like there's a lot of listeners that procrastinate doing this work too. And most of it is from fear, like of overwhelm, but how procrastination comes out as a form of trauma response, like the fight, flight, or freeze mechanism. So I
Yeah.
can imagine in the work that you do, you probably have to fight with your client to pull through some of those moments in their life, that trauma.
Yeah, and I feel like fight is not even the right word. I think it's really about meeting them where they're at. I think
Mm.
I'm really good at spotting the blind spots and seeing where some resistance might come up and just holding safe space and being like, hey, I'm here from a place of total non judgment. This is for you to have, like, to be met and to be seen in as your full self. So, what's going on here? Like, and just asking questions to really dive deep, but in a way where people can, say things that maybe they wouldn't normally say or be more vulnerable than what they've ever been because they're met with somebody who has the capacity to hold them through it.
Yeah. And then how do you guide them through those moments?
And I think there is definitely a level of guiding them through the moments, but for me, it's trusting in how empowered they already are
Mm.
and how powerful they already are. It is amazing what somebody else will walk themselves through when they're just held in a really safe way.
It's like when I used to do coaching, I'd offer Voxer access and I say,
Yeah.
"Hey, hit me up anytime with questions." And they would Vox me. It's like the walkie-talkie app if you don't know Voxer. And they would ask me the question. As they're asking me the question, they're answering their own question. And I can't tell you how many times they're like, "Oh, you know what? Forget it. I just figured it out. I'm good." But you have to
Right.
go through it. They're like, "I don't know how to do this thing, and I'm overwhelmed at this thing." And then as they're walking through the question or talking through the question, they're like, "Oh, it's right there in front of me. I didn't
Yeah,
know."
exactly. Yeah. And sometimes it's just even a question that you might ask to not answer their question, but to like offer deeper contemplation. And they're like, oh, that's
Mhm.
the thing. That's the shift. That's the perspective. That's what I needed. But it was in them all along. I think ultimately, I mean, especially women, we don't trust ourselves as much as we should. And we don't believe in ourselves as much as we should.
No, we totally don't. No. It's like asking the 5 whys. Have you ever done that question or that exercise before? The 5
Yeah.
whys is where you ask, the question, like, why did you start your business? You answer the question, but then you like ask the why to that and then the why to that. And it's only 5 whys. And then you eventually get to this point where you can't even think of the answer, but then that's the truth.
Oh,
It's
yeah.
really
I've done that with fear before. It's like, what are you really afraid of? And then you answer and you're like, and then what? And then what? And then you're like, oh, and I'm afraid of dying. Like, you're like, okay, that's what the core
It's like,
is.
I actually don't even like licorice. I don't know, all these years I was afraid to admit I don't like licorice, and now I'm telling you I don't like licorice.
Yeah.
But I love licorice. No, it's true. And I think about this in parenting too. When they're like super upset about something and I was like, "Oh my gosh, tell me more. Tell me more." And they're like, "Meh, meh." And then they're like, they got no more to tell. And they're like, I'm done talking to you. I'm good. Like, stop bugging me now.
Right.
It's like, I'm going to go make my own snack.
You're like, okay, and I'm over it.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I mean, that says so much about just like allowing yourself to be with whatever's going on
Yeah.
and not procrastinating and not putting it off and not doing all of these things, but actually just like diving in. And you're like, oh, the core of whatever that wasn't actually that scary. And I'm actually so equipped and so capable of finding out what's on the other side, which is pretty freaking spectacular.
Did you know there's only 2 real fears for human beings?
Oh, I believe that.
Do you know what
Yeah.
they are?
I want you to tell me.
Just guess. Just guess. What's the number one fear you think? The two real fears.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like fear of death is maybe a big one, but like fear of rejection, abandonment. Oh my gosh, what is it?
Think about a newborn baby. What startles them? There's 2 things. There's only 2 things that startle them. What's the first one now?
Oh my gosh. I
So
mean,
the first one is fear of loud noises. A
oh
baby
yeah.
goes like that, right? They're like, oh, their hands go up and they shake when there's a loud noise. Or the
Yeah.
fear of falling.
Mm,
Every other fear beyond those 2 fears are built. They are learned.
yeah.
And
All
then
I
they're
can.
ingrained into us. Isn't that crazy? Like, yeah,
That
of
is
course we can
wild.
be afraid of death because we don't know what happens on the other side. Yes, we can be afraid of sharks and alligators because they're going to bite you,
Yeah.
100%. But those are just learned fears. They're not real
Yeah.
fears. It's crazy.
Yeah.
So when you think
Yeah.
about
That is wild.
why do you people, I'm afraid to show up on social media, but there's no loud noises and you're not going to fall. Well, let's pray you don't fall. So like,
Yeah.
what are you really afraid of? Oh, we're afraid of
Yeah.
rejection. No, not a real fear. No, can't. Nope. We'll get rejected all the time. Every day, every single day, I'm rejected. Right?
Right. And then generally it's like that comes from people who you don't even really like or they're not your people anyway. So you're like, oh,
Right.
I don't even care about this person's opinion.
Yeah. And it's true. And then it's like there are a few people that you care about, but those people that you care about will probably reject you in a way that doesn't hurt so much.
Yeah.
Let's hope, right?
Yeah,
They won't
exactly.
produce loud noises and they won't make you fall.
Yeah,
This
exactly.
is why I don't wear heels because I'm a 6 foot tall woman and my fear of falling is real. It's
Yeah.
very real.
Like I got a long way to go.
I do. It's a long way down. Okay, so a couple last questions. What do you think trips people up the most when it comes to building their brand?
Yeah, and I think what trips people up the most is the desire to make it perfect, to have it solidified in stone, to be like, this is the thing and it must never change. In the same way that when we are getting out of high school and we're like, what do I want to do for the rest of my life? And to have to choose a career path that is set in stone is such a daunting task to do. And then you're kind of forced into it. But when it comes to building your brand, you get the whole point is that you get to evolve. The whole point is that you get to experiment. The whole point is that, like, you know, realistically, you're just putting stuff out on the internet. Like, it's not that deep. Like, you can go deep, but it's really not that deep. It doesn't have to be so concrete. So I think if people really had that view where they give themselves permission to experiment in their brand and how they're
Mm.
showing up online, it would not hold them back.
You
But
know what
it's
the
like,
real
how am I going to
treat is?
articulate this?
You know
That's
what the
sorry.
real treat about social media and showing up online is? You can delete it.
Right?
It can
Like,
just be gone
yeah.
for the
The
most part.
life of anything is just so fleeting.
I
And honestly, like nobody cares about you as much as you.
know.
So no one's
For
really
real.
paying that much attention to
Right. And
you.
like, and I say this all the time on the show is you're actually doing your people a disservice by not showing up because people are there to follow you for a reason.
Yeah.
And there's something that you inspired them with or you're teaching them. And by not actually putting yourself out there, they're not getting that benefit. And
Yeah.
that's like a reminder for myself, just by the way, is like
Yeah.
the more that I put myself out there and I tell the real raw stories of like running a business, being a mother, PR, whatever it is I'm like selling or doing, is like people, they need that. And I get messages saying, "Hey, Renee, you helped me start my own business, or you helped me like get a deeper connection with my husband," whatever it is. So you do your people a disservice, your community a disservice, your network, your followers by not showing up as you are.
Hmm.
And you just got to
Yeah.
do it. And like, yes, like the other day, I was like, I went on a 5 kilometer hike and I was like, oh my God, I'm so out of routine. I was like, so mad at myself, traveling so much. And this is my commitment to showing up on here more and doing the workouts more.
Yeah. And I think also it's like not giving yourself credit for the amount of work and embodiment that you've already done in your life. There's so many things that are probably so natural to you that's like no big deal or everybody knows this or whatever. But people really need like the simple basics and get so much value from that because it's not complicated. We all want more simplicity in our lives. Like I will stand by that till the day I
Oh my God,
die.
it's so true. And the reality is, the more complicated you make your content, the more you're going to, what's the word I'm trying to find right now? The more you're going to confuse your followers because most people read at a grade, was it level grade 5 English? And most people are not at the level of expertise that you are. So they actually don't know crap about what it is that you're talking about. So, like the basics. And you can say the same basic things in several different ways. And it's like a new
Yeah.
thing for that person.
Yeah, exactly. And when it comes to really great brands, they repetition is really
Yeah,
key.
it's true. It's so true. Okay. I got to get going. I don't want to go because I love hanging out with you. You are the queen. You've done, if you follow Allie on Instagram, you have to, and she's going to tell you her Instagram handle in a second, but you've done some beautiful work. And I'm so excited to see where you're going to be in the next 6 months, 6 years. But when I ask you what it means to be a wild woman, what is that to you?
Oh, to be a wild woman is to really embrace all facets of who you are. Like where can you even be more wild? Um,
Wow.
and yeah, to be a wild woman is to burn the box. To burn the box and say, you know what, I'm gonna show up as the fullest expression of who I am, and I'm gonna be wild, I'm gonna be weird, I'm gonna be silly, and I'm gonna be serious, and I get to be all of it because that's what it is to be a woman.
I love it. And that is you. So if people want to follow you online, where can they go?
Yeah, Instagram is really the best place. So you can find me at Allie Tymo, ALLIETYMO. And
And then you
yeah,
go from there. Reach out
and
to
go
her if
from
you
there.
have any branding questions or if you are looking for somebody to help you with this. She is the woman that I recommend the most in the world. And she lives close to me.
Thank you
I
so
get her
much.
too.
Honestly, Renee, you are one of the most generous people that I have ever
Mm.
met. And I just appreciate you so much. And I'm so grateful to be here with you. So thank you.
Same, same. Well, you keep being wild, Allie, and thank you so much for joining us today.
You too. Thank you.